Have you ever wondered, can we really see Allah? Not with our eyes, not in a place we can touch, but deep inside, in our hearts. In this video, we will go on a journey of the soul. We will explore how closeness to Allah is not about distance or space, but about love, purity, and the heart. So stay with me and let's discover a secret that is hidden inside every one of us. A secret about the greatest light we can ever know.
If the divine is established on a cosmic throne, who is speaking in your heart?
That is the question, isn't it?
Right. I mean, if he exists entirely beyond the boundaries of space and time, who is watching you in your most isolated moments?
It's something you really feel in the silence.
Exactly. Think about it. When you're sitting alone, in the absolute heavy silence of a lonely room, and a quiet, undeniable intuition speaks from within, whose voice are you really hearing?
It is a profound mystery, and just asking that question immediately pulls us away from the endless noise of our daily lives. It drops you into this space of wonder and, a very deep spiritual longing.
It really does. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are going on a deeply reflective journey today, exploring a beautiful Urdu spiritual discourse from a source called Dastan Urdu.
And the central theme here is a concept known as Deedar.
Right, which broadly translates to the possibility of seeing or truly experiencing the divine.
Yes. And we should establish right away that this exploration is not going to be a standard analytical breakdown of facts and figures. The philosophy we're diving into is a spiritual and emotional roadmap.
It's not a lecture.
Exactly, not a lecture. To really grasp the insights here, we have to approach it differently. This is an invitation into the inner world. It's a space where our strict, calculating logic just has to surrender and the heart has to take the lead.
I am so ready for that, but I actually need help wrapping my head around a massive spatial paradox that this philosophy presents right at the beginning.
Okay, let's hear it.
It points out a theological concept that the Rahman, the merciful, is established on the throne, the Arsh. That implies a location, right? Up there, somewhere out in the cosmos.
That's how we usually picture it, yeah.
But then it also teaches that the divine is with you wherever you are. I'm struggling to picture this. I mean, if there's no where, how do we even conceptualize closeness? How can something be on a cosmic throne but also sitting right next to you in your living room?
We struggle with it because we are entirely conditioned to think in terms of three-dimensional space, left, right, up, down. We constantly try to put the divine into a where because we are trapped in a where.
We want GPS coordinates.
Exactly. But the mystical insight here flips that entirely. The divine is not contained within a place. Rather, place itself exists within the divine.
So we are trying to put the architect inside the blueprints.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. The divine is not dependent on location. Any physical location you can possibly imagine from your living room to the edge of the observable universe is just a manifestation of creation.
It's all just the blueprint.
Right. So when we talk about being close to the divine, this concept of Qurb, or proximity, we have to completely discard our GPS coordinates. Divine proximity is not a physical distance measured in feet or miles or light years. It is a kaifiyat,
A state of being.
a spiritual state of being. And to illustrate this, the discourse brings up the ultimate example of divine proximity, the Miraj.
The night ascension of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yes. The traditional narrative describes how he traveled past all the physical heavens. He went beyond the angels, beyond the furthest boundaries of the known universe. But he didn't just travel far away, he traveled to a realm where the very concept of physical distance simply dissolved.
I've always found that story fascinating. So it wasn't a journey of millions of light years.
No.
It was a journey out of the concept of distance entirely.
That is the core of it. There's a famous description of this moment being 2 bow lengths or nearer, but that 2 bow lengths isn't a measurement of space you could plot on a graph. It represents the ultimate proximity of existence.
It's metaphorical.
Completely. It was a state where the boundaries of the physical self fell away and he entered pure divine presence. It was a closeness of being, not a closeness of geography.
Let's pause right here and bring this back to you, listening to this right now. Think about your own life. Have you ever been about to make a huge mistake and you felt this sudden, silent intuition guiding you away from it?
A physical pull in your chest.
Yeah, a pull that just says, stop, turn back. What if that isn't just your psychological conscience? What if that is the divine speaking to you in the garment of silence? Because if proximity is a state of being rather than a physical destination, it means that absolute connection is available to you right now, wherever you are sitting or walking.
And that brings an overwhelming sense of immediacy to our lives. But it naturally raises a deeper question. If the divine is not bound by physical space, and if closeness is about our state of being, then where is this cosmic throne? Where is the Arsh?
Right, because we always visualize the throne of God out there, past the stars, past the galaxies, in the deepest, coldest reaches of the heavens. It feels very, very distant.
But the philosophy guides us away from the telescope and points us toward a microscope. It takes us from that vast, starry cosmos and drops us directly into the silent, hidden universe of the human heart. The core insight here is staggering. The heart of a true believer is the throne of God.
Wait, really? The physical heart beating in my chest?
The spiritual heart. The inner core of your being. Think about the weight of that statement. The Arsh, the highest seat of divine authority, is not a physical structure in the sky waiting to be discovered. It is the purified human heart.
That completely flips the paradigm. There's a comparison drawn here to the Kaaba, the physical building in Mecca that millions of people pray toward every day. I always thought of the Kaaba as the ultimate destination.
The distinction made here is profound. The Kaaba is merely the physical direction a person turns toward. It organizes the physical body. But the human heart is the actual destination where the divine gaze turns.
It is beautiful, but it's also incredibly intimidating. Because if the heart is the throne, I'm thinking about my own heart. It's so crowded in there.
It is for most of us.
My heart is full of to-do lists, anxieties, petty grudges, the desperate need for validation. Scrolling through social media feels chaotic, not divine.
And that is exactly why the divine does not just enter every single heart by default. There's a very strict condition for this to happen. The rule is simple. The divine does not enter a heart that contains hair.
Hair, meaning the other.
Anything other than the divine. The ego, worldly greed, arrogance, superficial desires. The heart must be completely emptied of these veils. God's truth is singular, and it requires a singular empty space to reside. You cannot invite the absolute into a room cluttered with your own ego.
I am picturing this vivid cinematic scene right now. Imagine an ascetic, a fakir, sitting in complete solitary silence in the middle of a desert at twilight. On the outside, they look like nothing. Just a person sitting in the dust wearing rags.
The world would just walk right past them.
Exactly. But inwardly, they have swept away all those inner veils. They have entirely emptied out the greed, the need for validation, the arrogance. In that specific moment of true purified remembrance, that solitary person's heart is literally elevated higher than the cosmic heavens, because in that moment, their heart has become the throne.
It's a breathtaking image, a universe contained within a person. But as we explore this, we hit a point of immense tension. If the divine is so close, if the throne is literally right inside a purified heart, why am I so oblivious to it? What is blocking the view?
Right. We were talking about Deedar, the vision of the divine.
Yeah.
If he is closer than our own breath, why is he hidden?
It's a question of veils.
I always assume that when we talk about a veil blocking something, it's darkness, like a heavy velvet curtain blocking out a window. But this philosophy argues something completely counterintuitive. The first major veil between us and the divine isn't darkness at all. It's blinding light.
This is known as hijab in-nur, the veil of light. There is a foundational concept here that Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. But this light is so absolute, so raw and infinitely intense that it acts as a barrier to physical sight.
I need an everyday analogy for this. Is it like trying to stare directly at the sun to read a book?
That is a perfect way to grasp it. The sun illuminates everything so that you can see. But if you try to look directly into the sun itself, the sheer intensity of that light blinds you. The light doesn't reveal the details of the sun to your physical eyes. It obliterates your vision. Its sheer magnitude is the veil.
That makes the story of the Prophet Musa, or Moses, makes so much more sense. Because he goes to the mountain and he asks the ultimate question. He says, "My Lord, show yourself to me that I may look upon you." He wants Deedar. He wants to literally see the divine.
And he is told, "You will not see me." The physical eyes are simply not equipped for it. But to demonstrate why, the divine reveals just a fraction of that raw light to the mountain.
And the mountain just shatters. We are talking about ancient, unyielding stone, solid rock with millions of years of history, and in a fraction of a second, it is reduced to dust. It's completely obliterated. Musa falls unconscious. It's not because God is hidden. It's because physical matter simply cannot bear the raw intensity of divine light.
Think about the philosophical weight of that moment. What is the lesson in the shattering of the mountain? To bear this light, your physical eyes are entirely useless. You cannot see the divine the way you see a tree or a building or another person. To witness this reality, you need a spiritual heart that has been completely transformed, a heart that has been emptied of its own physical limitations and earthly nature.
Yet the reality is even more mysterious, isn't it? Because the light isn't the hardest thing to get past. The mountain shattering is incredible, but as we move deeper into the spiritual framework, we hit the real climax. The thickest, hardest, most impenetrable veil between humanity and the divine isn't outside of us. It's not a mountain, and it's not physical light.
No, it's inside.
It's the ego, the I,
Yeah.
naps.
This is the ultimate barrier. As long as I exist in my own mind as a separate, self-important entity, the divine will not manifest. The presence of your ego leaves no room for the presence of God. And this brings us to the most daunting concept in this entire journey, Fana.
Fauna. Annihilation. That is an incredibly heavy word. It sounds intense, and honestly, it sounds impossible today. We live in a world entirely built on the ego. We curate our social media profiles. We meticulously build our resumes. We brand ourselves. I get defensive if someone leaves my text message on read for 5 minutes. The idea of entirely erasing myself feels destructive.
It feels destructive to the ego because it is the death of the ego. But spiritually, it is the ultimate liberation. Fana is the process of completely erasing the illusion that you are separate, that you are the center of the universe. There is a very famous spiritual saying, "He who knows himself knows his Lord." But this isn't a passive intellectual exercise. You don't just sit on a cushion, think about your personality traits, and suddenly know God.
No, this kind of knowing requires burning. It requires burning away the ego in the sanctuary of the heart. You have to actively destroy the illusion that you are in control.
To explain this burning, the mystical tradition points to the fire of Prophet Ibrahim, or Abraham. In the historical narrative, Ibrahim was thrown into a massive, raging fire by a tyrant, but the divine commanded the fire to be cool and peaceful for him. In this spiritual framework, that fire is a metaphor for the path of Fana.
Oh, I see. So outwardly, to the rest of the world, shedding your ego, giving up your selfish desires, and stripping away your carefully constructed worldly identity looks terrifying. It looks like you are throwing your entire life into a consuming fire.
Exactly. People might look at someone walking this path and think they are losing everything, but inwardly, for as the seeker who is actually stepping into the flames of ego death,
What happens inwardly?
it is pure peace. It is profound divine love. The flames only burn the illusions. They don't burn the soul. They burn the anxieties, the fears of what people think of you, the greed. And when that eye is finally burned away, when Fana is achieved, you reach a state of union that is almost beyond language.
How do you even begin to describe a state where the I doesn't exist anymore?
Time and space become completely meaningless. In a single blink of an inner eye, the one who is seeing and the one being seen merge into a single reality. The duality of existence vanishes. You are no longer observing the divine from the outside. You are entirely submerged in the divine reality.
That shifts the entire motivation for being a good person or being religious at all.
Yeah.
Because usually people do good things to get to heaven, or they avoid bad things because they are afraid of hell. But in this state, those motivations just disappear, don't they?
They evaporate. Because if you are in direct union with the absolute truth, what is a physical heaven or a physical hell to you? The desire for reward vanishes. The fear of punishment disappears. The intellect, that calculating, anxious mind that constantly wants to weigh deeds, count points, and ask what's in it for me, becomes completely silent.
And what replaces that calculating intellect?
Marifat. Spiritual knowing. It is a state where a person exists physically in the world. They might be talking to you or walking down the street, but their ego does not exist. They are entirely absorbed in the divine presence. They see nothing but the divine in every single interaction.
So what does this all mean for us? For the person listening to this right now, navigating a noisy, chaotic, ego-driven world. Let's summarize this incredible journey. We started by looking for the divine on a cosmic throne somewhere out in the stars. And this philosophy took us by the hand and led us all the way down into the deepest, most silent chambers of our own hearts.
The profound takeaway here is that Deedar seeing the divine is not an external physical event waiting to happen to you in the sky after you die. It is a reality that is already hidden within you right now. It's just buried. It's buried under the dust of worldly distractions, underneath your to-do lists, and hidden behind the thick, heavy curtain of your own ego.
We think we need to do more, acquire more knowledge, say more words to reach the divine. But true spiritual sight doesn't come from just repeating words or mechanical rituals. It comes from a state of being,
Ugh,
a hall.
a state of being that completely surrenders. There is powerful metaphor used for this, the sajda, or prostration.
I want to break that down because the sajda isn't just a religious exercise. Think about the physical act of it. You are taking the highest part of your body, your head, your brain, your intellect, the seat of your ego, and you are lowering it to the absolute lowest point, the ground, the dust.
It is the ultimate physical metaphor for surrendering the intellect to the heart. But true sight comes from a prostration so deep and so completely devoid of ego that the prostration itself falls into prostration.
The prostration itself falls into prostration. That is a stunning thought.
It means that you reach a point where even your worship is no longer about you worshiping. You aren't thinking, look at me, look how spiritual I am, look how well I am bowing. You remove the you entirely, so that only the pure act of surrender remains. The journey of Deedar is not about traveling to a new place. It is about removing the veils that prevent you from seeing what has been there all along.
As we close this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought. We spend so much of our lives building up our I. We build our careers, our identities, our opinions, our defenses. We fill our hearts to the brim with ourselves until there is no room left for anything else. But what would happen if you truly emptied your heart of you today? What if, just for a moment, you let the silence take over? The journey to the divine doesn't require a spaceship. It doesn't require complex calculations. It just requires you to step out of your own way. Take a deep breath, embrace the silence, and begin the beautiful, quiet journey of purifying your own heart.
So now the journey ends, but your journey has just begun. Remember, see Allah is not about eyes, it is about the heart. Every moment you purity your heart, every time you let go of your ego, you are stepping closer to the divine light. I invite you to take one small step today. Sit quietly, reflect and ask yourself, am I ready to open my heart? Because the greatest vision starts from within. If this video touched your heart, share it with someone you love. And let's continue this journey together, one heart at a time.